There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonkō Table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonkō Table, the table that will make their dreams come true.
Yo! Welcome everybody to the newest edition of the Yonkō Table. And I am back in the hot seat hosting today. I am GrandMAsterHoop. Yes, that is me. That is my voice that you hear on the airwaves or wherever you're listening to our podcast. And we are back today on this glorious day to talk about the newest film that has just dropped, and that is Space Jam: A New Legacy. Yes, we're here to deep dive Space Jam, the Space Jam sequel that everybody thought it was coming for a very long time, and then it wasn't coming, and then here it is. We're finally here. And of course, us at the Yonkō Table, we're ready to talk about it because we are very opinionated people and we got a lot to say. So let's go ahead and introduce who's here at the table. And with me, of course, is my fellow Yonkō, DrJaceAttorney, who had to step down from the hot seat today. DrJaceAttorney, what's going on? How are you doing today? And why'd you go ahead and, give the reins to myself?
Listen, I'm doing great. I just got home from work. My heart is beating like a mile a minute. I'm not ready to pump up the jam for this movie. Let's just go with that. I'm telling you, I have a lot of negative opinions about this movie. Some good ones, but I felt like we needed a ray of positive energy for Space Jam because at the end of the day, it is Space Jam, and Space Jam, the first one, holds a very special place in my heart.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think you've done enough as a Yonkō to be able to take up the lead on Space Jam: A New Legacy, and basically, inform our listeners and let them know, is this movie worth a damn? No, it's not, but just give them the information that they need to come to that opinion themselves.
So to come to your opinion. Got it. Okay.
Of course, yes.
Not their own.
The correct one.
Very objective. Super
an objective opinion.
Very good. And everyone, that's the voice of Rose the Crafter. Rose the Crafter, welcome back to the table today. How are you doing?
Glad to be back. Glad to be hungry again. I'm a YMC legend. That's why I'm repping my YMC. Shout out to YMCA Blanchard Park Avengers. I did not pick this name at all. I did not pick this color scheme, but I'm
what about that font?
Representing. I did not pick anything to do with this jersey except the name on my back. But I'm represent it and ready to dive in. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Objectively, hopefully.
Again, I'm glad you're here to give your opinion versus Dr. Jace, who he's going to be forcing his opinion on others.
Let's see if it's the right algorithm. Let's see if the movie has the right algorithm.
The right algorithm.
Yeah, if they calculate it correctly.
No, that was a reference, man. That was totally a reference when he said algorithm. Yeah. Forget it.
No, yes.
Oh, you got it?
Yes, I got it.
Okay, whatever. Okay. All right. Last but not least, we have NinoDesplazado here back again for his, I think, your second time around, right, Nino? Mm-hmm. Welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a while. I'm ready to, talk about this movie and, just have fun with it.
I like that energy. He's here to talk versus project. Objectively, of course, we're objective opinions over here. But Nino, glad to have you here. Well, gentlemen, without further ado, let's get straight into it. And I think, before we talk about Space Jam: A New Legacy, I think it begs the question. This is 25 years after the original. The original came out in 1996. That's 25 years, okay? And this film has been in development hell as far as people thought it was going to come a lot earlier, and it didn't. So here we are, 25 years later. Do we find this sequel necessary? And that's a big question because a lot of films have been coming out with these 20, 30-year gaps in between the original films. And some of them, honestly, have missed a lot of the marks. One that comes off the top of my head is something like Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, missed the mark. And here we have a film like Space Jam, which this is our film. I would like to think this is like our era of film growing up. Did we need a sequel to Space Jam? I'm gonna throw that on the table right now.
I would say yes, in a way, just because I don't watch basketball. I'm not going to pretend that I watch it or know a damn thing about professional basketball. But what I do know is that LeBron James is a very central figure in the basketball community, in the NBA community. And in a way, at least from an amateur's perspective, looking into professional basketball, I kind of see LeBron James in the same way Michael Jordan was viewed back in the 90s. You know, he's this central figure, and obviously you have other players that, you know, carry their own weight in terms of, like, you know, skill and athleticism and all that. But I feel like LeBron James is that central figure for basketball, at least right now, the same way Michael Jordan was back in the day. And just based on that alone, I was looking forward to a Space Jam sequel, just because the last time we ever got a Looney Tunes type of film was Looney Tunes Back in Action. If you guys remember that one with Brendan Fraser, our
highly underrated film.
Highly underrated.
It is very underrated. I agree with that.
It is. People like to crap on that film a lot, but it's Looney Tunes. And that was like what, 2000, I think 4?
Yeah, like 2004.
Yeah, it was like mid 2000. That was the last time we got a Looney Tunes movie. So what better time, in my opinion, to get back into the live action mixed with Looney Tune genre, kind of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of deal, than with the Space Jam 2 with this very prolific figure of LeBron James, and put him in the center, make a sequel. I can see why they made a sequel and why they made it at this time. I can understand that.
Okay, fair enough. Do y'all have the same sentiments? So that's one net for necessary.
I'm kind of, I don't know if I have an answer for necessary or not necessary. It's like yes and no. And for me, it's, so number one, technically Space Jam, even though it's very iconic to our generation, it technically came out a hint before.
Yeah, just a hint. Yeah,
just a hint. I mean, I was, not to date myself, but I was probably one and a half to 2 years old.
Yes.
When that movie, you know, came out. And even Jordan, we know Jordan because of how big and how public of a figure he was. But he technically was like, we were kids when Jordan was transitioning out. So it's just interesting. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's interesting. Is it really necessary? I don't know. I don't know if it's necessary for us. I don't know which gap it's necessary for, but it can be both answers. It's like not necessary for a certain gap or age range, but necessary, I guess, for the new generation of people, or even a tail off end of our generation too. Because we didn't, as a basketball historian, as a person who's interested in NBA and pro basketball, I know of Jordan. And even if you don't know basketball, like Dr. J said, the popularity of Jordan, you know who Jordan is. You've seen this movie as a kid growing up multiple times because it stayed relevant, because Jordan stayed relevant as well. But we really grew up more with Kobe, more with tail end of Shaq, more with Wade. And we're even seeing some of the newer players, insert LeBron as well. But LeBron, I think we'll talk about later probably. LeBron's 36 at this point doing this movie. I think Jordan was 32 doing this movie. So we're watching LeBron at the tail end do this movie. And we're kind of watching Jordan, who's slightly at the tail end, but a little bit ahead, I guess, if you want to say. More in his prime, I think, than LeBron is. That's a whole separate debate. So it's like, if LeBron was 30 and doing this movie, this would fit us, like it would fit our generation like perfectly as a necessity. But now that he's slightly past that, it's like that balance between, okay, is it for us or it's a little bit for the younger people as well, as far as what a necessity of a sequel is and staying relevant. Looney Tunes, we haven't seen, who really needs the Looney Tunes, right? So they need a revamp anyway. But from a basketball and a Looney Tunes side, it's like, it's based on generation, I guess.
I can agree with the generation part because definitely Michael, he'll forever be a prolific, iconic figure. But I think the movie itself, as far as our generation goes, when we watch this movie, the original one, we take away the movie as a whole versus Michael as an individual. As far as that's what I think when I think of this movie. I think of the movie as a whole. It's not until later in life do we come to really appreciate Michael Jordan and the athleticism that he had. Nino, do you think the same as far as was this? I mean, I know how you feel about some sequels. What do you think? Was the original film strong enough to sit on its own without a sequel?
The question or the answer that I have is another question for your question. Was the original necessary? And the answer is no.
Of course not.
But considering what the original film was trying to do, which was just be one big commercial for Warner Brothers and Michael Jordan, so that they could sell, product. This new film, in terms of being necessity, this film did exactly everything that it wanted to do. So I guess you could say it was necessary.
That's funny that you call the original film a big a big commercial, because there's actually a lot of like lines that allude to Michael's endorsements throughout the film. So that's really funny. Now,
the McDonald's and Wheaties. When he
come on, Michael, get your Wheaties and we'll get a Big Mac on the way. Get your hands on. Yes, that specific line. But this movie, I think it does stand the test of time, the original film. And Nino, I'm glad you pointed out that this movie did everything it wanted to do. Because in my opinion, this movie tried to do a lot more than the original. As far as, I don't know, to me, there was just basically a story. So just real quick, was the original movie even good? I mean, it's iconic and it's a classic, but is it a good movie to begin with?
It's not a good movie, but you're not supposed to take it as an in-depth movie.
Sure.
It's supposed to be a joke in itself.
You just view it as it is.
Like I recently just watched it, and I mean, it's Looney Tunes. The whole plot first of all, for both of the movies, the whole plot makes no sense. It's Looney Tunes. It's not supposed to make sense. I mean, the first movie, they pull Michael through a golf hole and they say, we've been living here all along, inside Earth, basically. The aliens are coming. So now you need to protect the Earth. What the heck? So that plot alone, like it's not supposed to take itself serious. Is it a bad movie? Yes. But it feels like it's entertaining to watch, probably because nostalgia, but also like because it's so overtly, not even overtly bad, but it makes me think of like the Star Wars prequels. Like, we know they're bad.
Oh boy.
But we watch these prequels. We really do.
Okay.
Like Revenge of the Sith is bad.
That's a fair statement.
That's debatable.
Well,
I'm Execution, it is bad. It is a bad movie from Execution. That's a whole separate conversation. But if you compare the two films, like, because Revenge of the Sith from an execution and point of view, and like even camera, like with Space Jam, the first one, like I just rewatched it again just to make sure, and it's choppy too, but it's also only an hour and a half, so it's choppy. It's not as cohesive, but I'm still finding myself to enjoy it, which is why I compared it to the prequels personally. So,
I mean, gosh, when you talk about, yes, the prequels are bad, but I'd rather sit through those than the sequels. Space Jam, the original. Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh. And I know Nino, right? Yes. I mean, that's another conversation.
I would too, but
yeah.
Okay. So the original film, I think, as bad as it was, it's entertaining. Like you said, it's very much entertaining. And I think it is the simplicity of the plot and of, again, it's ridiculous. It's Looney Tunes with Michael Jordan.
And Mike is ridiculous. He's like so flat that it's funny.
Correct. It doesn't take itself too seriously. So we have this film, which I think it really takes it up a notch and very much tries to be a film. It's not necessarily a big commercial. It's more of meta commentary.
I mean, a little
So-
commercial because there's a scene where a whole Nike check is
True.
buried in the
Okay.
ground, but-
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
they're in
right.
there.
Yes.
They're in
They
there.
sneak it in
but-
a little bit, but
Yeah, of course. But like even with the Warner Brothers side of this film, goodness, how many of their Warner Brother products are they gonna put in this film? And
I
they're
did
like,
notice some obscure ones that I wasn't expecting them to, put out there. Like there was Clockwork Orange.
yeah,
Like not a lot of
Yeah.
people recognize those outfits from Clockwork Orange. I'm like, wow, they actually put that in there.
they threw a
I'm
lot of Warner
surprised.
Brothers in there.
They did, and so we say all this about the original film, and was this film necessary? Did anybody like A New Legacy better than the original? Is anybody on?
Yeah, I did. When you look at the original film, like I just recently rewatched it, maybe like 2 months ago, and the original film is fun, but whenever they're in the real world, God, that film really drags. When you see these little kid actors and Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck are in the house, these little kids don't know how to act. And,
Oh
they-
man,
they're like Bugs Bunny or whatever, or when they come home from like baseball, and they're like, oh, I'm sad, and you don't remember what. Like it's just really bad whenever they're like, the only times I think when they're in the real world and it's actually entertaining is on the golf course with Larry Bird and Bill Murray. Because that's actually very funny. Like
actually, that part is hilarious. I agree.
when you read up more about like basketball history and how Michael was like a big gambler, it's like showing in that
Yes,
scene,
yes.
which is funny.
That whole movie, he was even at the very end, he definitely gambled.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
He made a whole new gamble. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like, Mike, what are
raised
you
the
doing?
stakes. He raised the stakes. Yeah. But then this movie, I think it tried to, and this is also coming from someone who really likes LeBron James, and I really like to see, like, this is his first movie, I think. No, it's not his first movie.
He was in
But-
Trainwreck.
He
With,
was.
You're right.
Yeah.
So
He
this
did
is his
okay
first
in
movie.
Trainwreck.
This is his first movie, technically speaking.
Yeah.
But like where he has like a main role, and this is something that was obviously very personal to him, and you could tell that every single person in this movie had an arc. It did. I'm not going to say it was executed well or not. Like that's not for me to say, but you could see where they were going with this film. You could see that there was a father and son dynamic about the idea of having a legacy and an idea of making your own legacy, which is something that I think LeBron really cares for, and it's a message that he cares for, while just being silly and being with the Looney Tunes and whatever property that Warner Brothers owns at the time.
I think that's a fair statement. You could definitely see, yes. Oh gosh, you could see his heart in the film. I won't say his acting was top notch, but
Well,
You can
neither was
see-
Michael Jordan's, and I
But that,
You know-
mm,
but
mean,
okay.
come on.
Okay. Talking about Michael Jordan versus LeBron. LeBron is a champion of the people. Michael Jordan is a champion. All right. And if you ever, I think it's a really good. If you ever watch The Last Dance and then go back and watch Space Jam, it's actually really funny. Or it's just funny in general. Because talking about Michael, but this is not about Michael. Let's, we can.
Well,
I mean, here. Well, let's listen. Let's do this.
we'll get to that part. Yeah.
Yes.
All
Let's
right.
do this. Let's just go through this movie and say whether or not, and give our opinions on some of these plot points and whether or not do they stand, were they executed well compared to the first movie, how do they hold up, and let's just go through it. Because
well, let me ask this real quick.
Sure.
Because I'm not a LeBron fan. I'm not a LeBron hater either. Go Lakers, go Kobe. I'm not a LeBron hater. I respect LeBron at this point, but I know LeBron was mentioned. But if you're a fan of LeBron and him as a basketball player, do you see that in this movie? Like, do you
Playing
get?
basketball?
No, not him playing basketball. Well, yeah, him playing basketball. But like, do you see like like LeBron, the basketball player in this movie at all?
No, absolutely not.
We do. I think.
Barely.
Yeah, but that
I
was
mean,
part of the movie.
I could even say the same thing about the first movie. I mean, I haven't seen the first movie in so long, but from what I vaguely remember, it's kind of what Grandmaster was saying earlier. I've watched Space Jam more as a whole rather than this is a movie with Michael Jordan in it, right? And when I saw that movie, I really don't remember too much, Michael Jordan playing basketball. I remember the Looney Tunes and Michael Jordan trying to save the universe by playing a basketball game. And in a way, as we'll get into the movie in a bit, but I kind of view this one the same way. I just saw it as LeBron James with the Looney Tunes playing a basketball game to save the Serververse.
And so let me clarify too. Not saying that you're just supposed to go play basketball if you're a basketball player. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying comparatively to the first movie is that you got more shots of Michael actually playing basketball than I think in this movie. You got more shots. Okay. Like you can talk about the clips. That's a whole separate thing. Like the whole montage of him playing basketball. That's fine. That's a separate thing. They kind of did a similar beat. But like on the court, like a jump shot, like or just a dunk or like actually like playing, even though I know the game is a little different, I feel like you don't see that as much in A New Legacy. And I don't know if that's
no, you're absolutely thinking about it. Yeah, they did not really highlight LeBron as a player. It's more of a LeBron as a person, this movie.
Well, but that's the thing. I think this movie kind of blurs the lines between him as a basketball player and him as a person.
And actually,
I think that's what they were trying to do. Because throughout this movie, he mentions at least 5 times. He's like, no, we have to stick to fundamentals. We have to work hard. And, and that was his ethos of the movie, where he has to change and adapt to the circumstances, which if you know the history of LeBron James and like him adapting to circumstances of like the given times in the league, how he had to adapt like 3 different times to fit the mold of the league and still be great. It's really great. It's a really great reflection of, I think, himself.
Well, shoot, that's my first point talking about this plot. So movie kicks off and we're, introduced to the fictionalized, I guess, version of LeBron. And we're given, works hard on the court as a kid. Obviously comes up, show a little highlight reel. And then we're given LeBron and his children. And he's projecting onto his middle child, Dom. And, as Nino was saying, fundamentals. He's telling him, you got to stay focused. And clearly the son, as pointed out by the older brother too, they are not actually named after the actual sons. That is not LeBron James Jr. No, his name was something else. But, he recognizes that his brother does not want to play basketball. Did we feel this was fabricated? You think this is an actual reflection of the James household that he's projecting onto the children? I mean, Bronny Jr. is killing it right now.
Yeah, but what do you call it? Isn't there one of his sons that's into esports specifically?
I have no idea.
But I think Bronny's the one that's, I think they're both into it. Not to misquote, but I think Bronny is actually like a part of one part of the esport clans.
Yeah, really? and they got on Sports Illustrated, like at 18. So I think he infused a little bit of real life into fictional, and then said, I'm not going to make a movie, with people playing my family. That'd be weird. Let me give myself a fictional family.
I mean, Michael Jordan didn't do it either.
Right.
Yeah, those are all actors.
I disagree. I think he should have just had his family in there. That'd have been
really.
I mean, I thought it was his family going in, because again, I don't know anything that or too much about LeBron James. So going into this movie, I thought, oh wow, that's his son.
No, yeah,
acting
no, that's not.
He's acting just as bad as his dad. Like,
Actually,
Okay, and to your point, why not put your sons in at that moment?
exactly. No, and I remember even having a conversation like that with a friend where I was like, you know, I thought it was his son, and that's why the acting was bad, because, you know, they wanted the family in on this and they wanted them to be part of the film. But then the fact that it wasn't his son, that means they had to reach out for child actors.
yeah,
and,
they
you know, hire
audition.
and audition,
Yeah.
and they gave the green light to this
guy.
kid who apparently I checked his IMDb. He's from Modern Family, apparently.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't watch Modern Family. That was the most recognizable title that I saw in his page. I'm like, oh, okay, Modern Family. But
I mean, I'm not gonna.
I'm fine
wanna
with
knock
I'm
him.
fine with it. I would love, like, just to be fun to have your family in it, but also the family got their own schedule, and also you're giving opportunities to people. So I'm never gonna knock that. So
And it's also like, if you put your family in it, there's a level of exploitation that
Yeah,
comes with
true
it.
that.
Like, you're
True.
inviting
Yeah.
and people in,
Right.
you know, to
Yeah.
a personal world. And you know what? To me, when you're making a film, a fictional film, you know, not anything about like anything real, or even if it's something real, you can always just hire actors. You know, there are actors out there, and you know, and I think for the most part, everyone in the movie did a pretty good job. That was his family. You know, they did an okay job. They came and they did the work. They were like, we know what this is about, and it didn't feel like little kids in Michael Jordan's like fake house, trying to pretend that Bugs Bunny exists.
stop it. It's green screen.
Oh yeah, man. The times are different, man. Yeah, that green screen tech has come a long way. But I think, you know, right off rip, from that scene alone where they're on the court practicing shooting, you could tell this movie's going for a lot more of a heartfelt message versus the original film. I watched the original film either yesterday or 2 days ago. The most message I could get out of there is Michael is battling with his, you know, desire to, you know, live by his father's, like, not his last wishes, of course, but, you know, his father was a baseball player, and definitely a better reflection of what was going on in Mike's life, because here he is playing minor league ball in the film, but there was like no actual message there. It's just like, oh, the Looney Tunes inspired me to go back and play basketball. That's really what it was.
that's all it needed to be.
I mean,
Also,
that's all it needed to be.
Also, it's gambling, but
And gambling. Or
Yeah.
what? If it's gambling, then it's gambling. You can win from gambling because he won. He didn't lose.
Yeah.
He didn't lose.
He
lose.
saved.
I
He saved.
mean, we're not going to
universe.
talk about the Wizards, are we? But
Oh,
no,
anyway,
no.
what I will say to piggyback off of the original Space Jam is that, as fictional as it is, because it's like infusing the gap that Jordan has, it can like fit in like the timeline,
Yeah, you
like
can.
as a myth.
Yeah, you could do
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
you want in that period of time where nobody cared about really what he was doing.
And I actually found that interesting. A strong point to the original is that they kind of took the period that he was in and they kind of like made a whole fictional story in that gap. They're like, okay, you're playing baseball, you're retired. This is a perfect beat for our story to add into.
So you think Space Jam is canon to Michael Jordan's career?
that's the subtext of the movie. Yeah,
That's what I'm understanding.
that's the subtext of the movie.
I mean,
Definitely.
this movie could very much be canon. Why not?
No, you can't.
it
Wow.
doesn't work like.
well,
doesn't
no,
work as good as
we'll get to
In-
it. Yeah.
Sure,
in this movie, this has to be set after the bubble.
Yes.
And this must be set in like, no, they say he's 36, right? In the movie.
Yeah, he says it. Yeah.
Well, he's
Okay.
36 now. I don't know if he says it's in the movie 30. I don't know how old he was when he shot the movie. 35, I guess.
Yeah, but this is definitely like in an alternate reality rather than the original, which could fit nicely into like this actually happened, you know.
I mean,
or
I
we
don't
can
know.
pretend it actually happened because COVID, like everything is like
The tech too.
Uh,
I mean, the tech too, technically.
Yeah,
What,
I mean,
with the
yeah,
algae?
Take Two.
With algae?
Well,
That's
not
a
even
pretty high
algae,
tech
but
stuff.
like, well, yeah, not even algae, but like the cell phones and stuff. Like Dom, that's his name.
Yeah.
Dom's cell phone is like, that's a high tech cell phone.
Oh, I didn't even notice what kind of phone he had.
Oh, it can scan
It's
people
doing
and like
scans and, like-
digitize them into the
Okay.
But
But-
also, but if you're questioning the believability of that, the Looney Tunes.
Well, I'm not.
lived
It's a whole
under- underground in the first one.
No, yeah,
So-
I don't take anything serious. But I'm just saying in like the time period.
Well,
of it.
listen, I mean, I think that's a fair point though, because with Looney Tunes, you kind of separate the Looney Tunes aspect and say, okay, that's Looney Tunes. That's like the cartoony-esque part of it. But then you have some of the real world applications like that cell phone that's not tied to the Looney Tunes.
All right,
And-
fair enough.
I mean, yeah.
And it could be. There could. I know you can do a
Right.
scan on a
I mean,
cell
they got
phone.
money.
Yeah.
They
It's
got
just
They
money.
more
got
in
money.
depth. So,
I mean, they were
like,
playing basketball earlier, and they were shouting ball to that little contraption. Like, oh yeah, those exist. That's cool. That's
Yeah, they got
futuristic.
money.
Yeah,
They
they
could have
do.
tech
Yeah,
that
they got
we
money.
don't
They can have
know.
all that, and that's what
Yeah,
I
they
told
do.
myself too.
They got
So,
money. Yeah.
you know, speaking of the tech, you know, we're introduced to Al-G, who I think Don Cheadle did a really good job.
The only good actor. In
I was
the movie.
definitely entertained by Algae.
I like
Well, Don.
Al-G better
Don.
than Slackhammer. Slackhammer.
Oh, you mean Danny DeVito?
Danny DeVito's character in the original.
Ah,
You know,
okay,
the
okay.
theme park owner, you know.
Oh, that's
You know,
right.
Al-G had some depth. This guy just wanted to not have his theme park go out of business. You know, so he
No,
said,
he's
I
not
need
out
to,
of business. He wanted just more money.
Yeah, it was just
Well,
he was
that-
just capitalist. He
Well,
was just a
that-
capitalist from a
well,
different planet.
capitalist, but then he said, oh, I know, slavery. That'll
Yeah.
bring in the money. You
Yeah,
know?
well, capitalist. Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
It goes
I think
hand in
Al-G had
hand.
some depth to him, you know.
But
He's
at the
like-
expense of the Goon Squad.
The Goon Squad.
Okay. I have a bullet point for the Goon.
All right,
Squad.
all right.
I got Goon,
We'll get there. I
Goon
know.
Squad versus Monstars. LeBron saying actors in films never work. Do you agree? Because that was that set up the rest of the film right there.
Oh, you mean like players in film? You mean?
Yeah, when LeBron turned down the whole Al-G putting him into the movies because
I think it was a what do you call it?
forced
this
meta
movie-
commentary.
Yeah.
Not forced. Oh,
Oh, whoa.
Well, I mean,
now
well,
suddenly everything's
go ahead.
forced. Like
I mean, no,
think,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I
Ooh,
never
this
know
one's
when you're
spicy.
done.
This one got some spice on the table.
I don't know. I thought it was forced just because I mean the whole plot of having an actor in I mean not an actor, I guess an athlete in film. I felt like that really had no ties to the rest of the movie. I felt like it was just another way to just make kind of like a meta commentary on, oh, remember the first Space Jam and how we ripped on Michael Jordan can't act and it was such a silly movie because of his acting skills. I felt like it was more so of a play on that than actually something that's supposed to represent like the rest of the film moving from that point.
I can agree. Yeah, it's definitely never brought up again. Yeah, it's definitely a throwaway line. It's a funny little line.
Because like
They
he
do
hangs
that
on it.
throughout
He's
the
like
film.
actors in movies,
Yeah, they do.
athletes in movies. Oh no, never. It's a terrible idea. I'm like, okay, man, I get it.
But that's a funny line. It is
It
a
is,
throwaway.
yeah, it is a funny
it's
line.
funny, yeah.
I think the
They're asking-
execution of it was it. Yeah, I don't think it's the line. I just think it's the execution of it. I think LeBron was a little flat on some of those like joke.
This is his first
executions.
movie, you know, like.
But he was a lot
I-
funnier, and he had a couple lines in what
I heard he
Andy-
was really funny in Trainwreck.
Well, he's funny, not really funny. I think. people
oh,
hype
sorry.
up.
You're
Actually,
on
I
the
think
floor
he's-
laughing.
I think he's also in that Bigfoot movie.
He
The
is.
animated one.
Yeah, but
Oh, the one
that's
with Hugh Jackman. That one.
No, there was like 3 Bigfoot movies that came out around the same
it's
time.
the latest one that came, latest animated one that came.
Yeah,
out.
it's
Oh, I have no idea
Channing
then.
Tatum's in it, Zendaya, and they have
Bigfoot
LeBron.
movie, like a cartoon.
It's called
or-
Smallfoot. It's called Smallfoot. Yeah, it's
Smallfoot.
animated. It's called
Smallfoot.
Smallfoot.
Okay.
But to your point where you're at, you know, I think that Looney Tunes always had an like what do you call it, an air of meta commentary, or at least, you know, commentary on it always I don't have to like revise that statement, because I'm thinking about the episode where Bugs is literally drawing Daffy in a scene because he's one of the animators and he's just making Daffy's life hell.
Oh yeah.
It's called
Sure.
Duck Amuck. Yeah. Looney Tunes has always been like meta comic. I just thought it fit within the Looney Tunes world, and it doesn't have to be more than a punchline in Looney Tunes. And and that's what it was. It was just, I was like, haha, like, you know, here's the punchline, haha, everyone laughed. And I think throughout this film, with the inclusion of so many properties, and I'm thinking about a couple, and just that one scene which I know we'll get to.
Oh my God! Save it.
Yeah.
Please save it. Oh my
Okay.
God!
But I think they were very purposefully, like, they knew that they couldn't replace the original Space Jam, but they were like, oh, we're gonna acknowledge it exists, and we're just gonna like ham it up because we know that it exists, and we know that what people are gonna say about this film. Might as well have fun with it.
It actually appears in that little reel of films that he's showing off during that little presentation. It's like the DVD covers right there. So actually, with that said, in interviews, Ryan Coogler, who produced the film, Ryan Coogler of, you know, Black Panther, Fruitvale Station, Creed fame, he said this is not really a sequel. Actually, he says it's more of a standalone film, which it actually
And I
does
feel
feel
that.
like that.
And I feel that.
Right.
So yeah, funny enough, it's like they're trying to, like you said, they know they're not going to live up to the original, but they're purposely putting themselves in a corner where they don't have to by, you know, making such comments and whatnot.
But they are playing off of it, and I think
No
think
doubt.
that's reflective of LeBron's career as well, and his
Ooh.
with Jordan and with the expectation. I think a lot. He's a smart businessman. Like he's a smart person.
There's
So
levels to this.
There's levels. I think this
There's-
is just similar to what he.
Layers.
All right. There's
All
layers.
right, there we go.
Whatever.
But yeah, it's really reflective of his past career, technically current career. Let me be respectful, and what the shoes he's tried to fill. I mean, even King James, and they even played off of that in the movie.
They do a lot.
So just like he does in his whole career of like, okay, they want to compare me to Jordan, we'll play off of that, because I think he does embrace that, you know, to benefit him. That whole good press, bad press is still, you know, press and notability. I think it's something that also showed itself in the movie.
No doubt. So then we're met with Algie and his master plan. He's like, let me kidnap the son of LeBron, which I guess he's you lose basketball, you have to be in the films. Is that the plan?
No,
here?
You're stuck
No,
in the
the
servers.
Yeah, he's gonna digitize them.
So that's
and
just
basically-
revenge.
It's just
Yes.
revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
so no actual, he doesn't come out on top. He just gets the satisfaction.
Yeah.
Just
All right.
satisfaction.
Very one-sided villain. One note. I mean, I don't
I
really.
wasn't
like it.
expecting
I
layers.
mean, he's AI.
from
He's
him.
AI. He's not even supposed to have depth like that.
I guess
if he's
you're right.
growing AI, he does grow depth actually. But
Yes, he grows emotions, and
yeah.
that's
That's
the
what
future.
they-
That's how Skynet happens and all that.
Vision.
Yeah, Vision. Yeah, that's how Vision happens.
I mean, he had a whole stone, but
Yes, he did have the old Mind Stone. You're right. But either way, that sets forth LeBron entering the Warnerverse? No, Serververse. Sorry.
Serververse. But I mean,
Serververse.
it is the Warnerverse.
It is
It is.
definitely
It's
the
That's
one.
what it
it's
is.
the Warnerverse, and it's Space Jam, so he has to land in Looney Tunes world of all places, you know, because I mean, with that mindset, technically he could have landed anywhere. You know, why couldn't a space?
No, he put him. He Algie directed him to Looney Tunes.
But you know, the whole
The-
name, the
the
title
reject
of
was, like,
Space
dead.
Jam, the whole title of Space Jam, you know, it's like, it doesn't imply that this is a Looney Tunes film. It just says Space Jam. Well, you could have recruited anybody technically. And funny enough, LeBron tries to recruit other people. Like he's going down. He's like, oh, I need the Iron Giant. I need
Superman.
Superman.
Batman.
I thought that was a clever little joke, but here I think we're given okay, so the first Space Jam, it was the Tunes who needed help. This is LeBron that needs help. So
Mhm.
they switched them, which I thought was better for a narrative. to be different, right? And on top of that, with the Serververse, you found that all the tunes have hightailed and went and did their own thing at the other Warner products. And you get again, here they are trying to add a little more heart to the story, because you have Bugs, of course, Bugs, the quintessential. Wants his family.
Tony Stark of the Looney Tunes.
He's the Dominic Toretto of the Looney Tunes. There's a lot of family in here.
Of course,
he's a lot more. What do you call it? He's a lot more abusive to his family than Dominic Toretto.
Ooh, Bugs Bunny, because he manipulated them.
Yeah,
he manipulates them. He hurts them. He drops an anvil on his head. He laughs.
But that's what they do, man. That's what they do.
They're all in.
Was that an excuse? Because that's what they do.
They're not all in on it. Someone hasn't watched Back in Action in a while.
Who's not in on it? You talking about the contracts they were talking about? How Daffy was tired of being shot?
Exactly.
Okay.
About that.
That's right.
Okay. That's fine. But it's their attempt at definitely trying to be different, because yes, the stakes were high in the original first Space Jam. I mean, the Tunes, their whole livelihood was on the line, and now, you have this Bugs at the heart, just he wants his family back. Do you find that like a necessary element to this film? Did we need these heart-tugging moments and points of interest?
Yes. I think it added necessary depth to an otherwise retread of the original film. Like that's what separates this film from the original. Like the moments where things can be vulnerable. And also, if you don't have that arc for Bugs Bunny, and then all the mini arcs for the rest of them, except for one of them, which that's my one big complaint of the movie, but we'll get to that, is that if not, you're just gonna retread all the other Looney Tunes movies in existence, which is only a handful of them, but it's just gonna be like, oh, Bugs gets to do Bugs things, and whatever. This actually feels like he's a character with wants and needs, and he has ways of getting to it and ways of reacting to things, versus in the original where Bugs was just like, I guess we gotta do it this way.
They were definitely more nonchalant in the first movie about the whole slavery thing. They challenged them to a basketball game based on, I don't know, if it was a fight for my life, I don't think I would play a sport to, granted, whatever, to their credit, they were like, they're short, stubby legs, short arms. It makes sense. They thought it through. But what did y'all think of the Looney Tunes in these other little Warner things? Like for myself, I was geeking out with Daffy and Porky, and that was Bruce Timm's. That was Bruce. Yeah, that's
that
was
Green
like
Lantern. Yeah,
Justice
Stewart.
League. Yeah, man, that was great. I thought that was really funny. And that's not anything Looney Tunes hasn't done before. We've seen Looney Tunes poke fun at other pop culture big things and whatnot, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was interesting. I know a lot of people didn't like it. They felt it overshadowed the tunes themselves. What did y'all think?
I feel like it, in some ways it did, when they were just throwing the cameos just for the sake of having a cameo. Like the scene with Daffy in the world of like DC with Superman and Batman. I thought that was good because it's incorporating both properties and they're making a gag out of it. And that was what was funny about it. But when you just have someone like, I don't know, like the Iron Giant, like running around in the background, I don't know. It doesn't really do anything for me. Like, yeah, I remember Iron Giant, but what are you doing with him? Like there was that gag where LeBron is saying, oh, I want to hire Superman. I want to bring on Iron Giant. Though, those parts were funny because he's just trying to bring on the most OP S rank players on his team. But when they're showing the characters, it doesn't really do anything for me. Like I saw Joker in the background in one of the scenes. I'm like, all right, it's Joker. Like what do you want me to say? I saw the Animaniacs. I saw.
Oh, I didn't see
Like,
that.
Yeah, they were
They
sitting
were
up
you
there.
miss
sitting-
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really
it's
quick.
very hard. I mean, it's very missable. Like, because I think they were like in 2 or 3 scenes, and
It's
like
a
you
really
see them,
quick clip too, and they're sitting all the way
Yeah.
like, at the top in the corner.
right? And you see like, stuff like that. It's like, okay, I saw them, but am I supposed to freak out and say, oh my God, it's the Looney Tunes, the Animaniacs? Oh my God, I can't believe I saw them in the movie. I felt like in a way it did, if it wasn't incorporated in some way with the Looney Tunes themselves. So the only cameo I appreciated were the DC ones. So like aside from the one we mentioned earlier, like Superman and Daffy Duck, I like the Lola Bunny and Wonder Woman one because I felt like she would fit in that role because Lola was a very strong, independent woman.
Also, Lola only has Space Jam and the Looney Tunes show that came out in 2010. There ain't much history with her character.
Baby Looney Tunes.
Oh, okay, Baby Looney
Baby.
Tunes. Yes.
Don't you knock Baby
yes.
Looney Tunes?
No, she is in Baby Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
But that's all she has as far as history goes. So you really could throw her in any of them, and yes, Wonder Woman was definitely fitting for her character because she's just this badass rabbit.
And like Granny in The Matrix with Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was funny too. I'm like, okay, yeah.
I think you're right. They work best when you got to visit the worlds themselves, and it becomes a gag in of itself. But I also, I don't know. It's kind of a hit or miss for me when you talk about like the last hour of the movie, and you see all these people. And I think it's good to be like, oh, I remember that. But it's just superficial. Like I felt like it just feels nice, but I don't think it was meant to be anything other than nice.
Yeah, it doesn't seem purposeful, especially at the end. The recruitment process, that's part of the story. That's fun. I actually enjoyed the recruitment process in those scenes. Some of them were a little wilder than others, but I'm like, it's Looney Tunes, it's Warner Brothers. They're throwing all their titles out. I guess they're stepping it up. That's fine. It was the latter half, particularly the basketball game, and it's like, oh, at first it's like, oh, I see this person, I see that person, I see this character, I see that character. But then it's like shot after shot. Like, how many times are you gonna show characters from Warner Brothers? Like, I was getting fatigued. I'm like, all right.
Actually,
there goes it. There goes,
yeah, that's right.
There goes it again.
2
There goes the
iterations of the
mask.
Penguin. There was the old school Penguin from the
Right.
Adam West, and then like the Danny DeVito Penguin.
Which is cool. The problem is they showed it like they wanted you to see them because they
Yes.
showed like 4 scenes of each character every time over and over. I'm like, first time I'm like, oh, I caught it. And I'm like, oh, this is the 3rd time I've seen the mask in 5 minutes.
That's
I know
right.
he's-
The mask was a lot. He was appearing a lot in there.
King Kong too. They made a lot of
Kong.
jokes towards King Kong.
Iron Man was in there a lot, but he's a giant, so that's fine.
Yeah, I think it did
I mean, it's fun to go
overshadow.
down it's fun to go down the list, right? The White Walkers were there.
Yes, the
Oh,
list
the
is
Game
quite
of Thrones,
extensive.
Yeah.
They threw Harry Potter. Also, they threw everything in there. Like, but they brought them all back on the basketball court. So I'm like, geez, I know they're here, but gee, what
Yes.
is it doing with a front row seat, just chilling? Is he interested in a basketball game?
It was overkill. I think it was overkill.
They all
And-
came sprinting over there, so he was one of the fastest ones there.
Yeah.
well,
Shoot, you even saw the likes of Jabberjaw, if you remember Jabberjaw.
Oh my God, yeah.
That Scooby Doo
Jabberjaw.
ripoff. The
Yeah.
shark. Yeah.
they have the
I
car
couldn't put
one?
my finger on it.
Jabberjaw.
No, I didn't
thought
see
that was
Speed
Kenny,
Buggy.
I thought that was
Speed
Kenny
Buggy.
the Shark.
No, that was
Was it Kenny?
Jabberjaw.
Well, now I gotta look up because
Yeah, go look it up. Jabberjaw. So yeah, we have the recruitment process.
oh, you're right.
Tunes
you're
are
right.
back, and oh my gosh, you could probably count how many times LeBron says, "I need to get my son back," or "I'm playing to get my son back," or Lola's like, "We'll get your son back." Oh gosh, that was annoying. But the game begins, and well, of course, the game cannot begin without the introduction of the Goon Squad, and the Goon Squad consists of again, the premise is the stealing of the abilities of the athletes to make them what's the word, competitive, actually
yeah.
can compete with, or what? He wasn't gonna recruit, I guess, anybody to do this, but yeah, they got actual, that's not anything new. They got the stars. They got Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Klay Thompson. I don't even know how to say. Does anyone know her name?
Diana Taurasi.
Well, Taurasi, yes, and then Anika. You know her? Anika.
You're terrible for not.
Yeah, I should have done my homework. I think it's
let me
pronounced. Yeah, Nika. Inka. Oh God, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Yes, either way, they got the stars.
Yes, either way. Great job.
Oh my God, don't do that. I'm sorry. Respect to her. Respect to her. Oh my goodness. But okay. Let's talk about. I think it's a nice thing to talk about. Let's compare them to the Monstars, right? The athletes here actually are playing themselves in the Space Jam, and they're given character. But then you have the Monstars on the other hand, who are each 5 individual characters. What did we think of the Goon Squad? Was the Goon Squad a worthy team to play against? I guess.
I think it's NECA. I just want to get that out the way.
NECA. Okay, sure. NECA. Thank you. But what did y'all think of the Goon Squad? Did they, live up to, your expectations of the Monstars and that whole bit? I'm gonna say no.
No. Well, why?
I did not like
no?
the Goon Squad.
Why? Why did you not like the Goon Squad?
It's cool that they were playing themselves versus, we didn't see Charles Barkley playing the orange one, So I thought that part was cool, that they're playing their counterparts. But it was really quick. They had one little gag or one little thing, Damian Lillard, he slowed down time, and that was cool. And Taurasi wrapped up Lola.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
But also how they got their abilities, which is fine. It's coding, and it's really just some scans that Dom had did at an all-star charity basketball game. All right, that's fine.
Wait.
The biggest thing that stuck out to me was compared to the Monstars. Okay, the Monstars story, but let's separate that for a second and just talk about the players. Is that montage of Basketball Jones is iconic. I know we're not supposed to compare it, but when you see Basketball Jones and the basketball players aren't great actors, but it's a really funny bit because
that is a hilarious.
They lost their powers, right?
And Charles Barkley.
They're going through therapy.
Charles Barkley.
Be gone.
Funny bit. And we got spoiled by seeing that. So you're right. It was really quick. With Dom getting the scans, it's just hey, can I just get some scans real quick for my game? And they're in a circle, and Dame makes a joke about Dame time, and that's it. It's very quick. It's not a lot of lines.
Yeah,
there's less lines for them than the other stars in the original. But
there was
what makes it fun.
There was
yeah.
There was what's the word? There was impact behind them losing their powers.
But when you look at how these movies were structured, it makes more sense because the first movie isn't about Looney Tunes and Michael Jordan. The core of that movie specifically is, and it takes a while to get there, is these aliens from outer space are coming to try and take over the Looney Tunes and Michael Jordan, and then they play a basketball game, and they have to go on this emotional journey to to realize that they don't need this evil capitalist, person. That's the movie, because they're the ones who hold the arc in the movie. They're the ones who the arc follows. Does that make sense? In this movie, it's definitely about LeBron James, Bugs Bunny, and LeBron James' son, and Algie Ridley. Yeah,
I mean, I'll say the switch is that Algie picked LeBron out, right, and said, "You're my star." And the switch is, which goes back to the whole lore of Space Jam myth and that gap, is that Michael was playing basketball. So when the aliens were trying to get basketball players, they even make a joke about it. They're like, "Why don't we get this guy?" And he's like, "He's a baseball player. He looks like a basketball player to me."
Oh my gosh.
It's glorious.
Yeah, actually, that's really clever writing.
It's
right?
good.
Yes. Actually, I didn't think about it like that. How there was kind of maybe
It
not
was
necessarily
canon to his career.
but it wasn't a gap in like it wasn't a gap as far as these players aren't good, but it's like if you didn't beat Michael, does your championship like matter? Kind of.
Yeah, but I know we got to keep comparing it, even though I'm trying to be objective. But you got to compare it, right? And it's a
Yeah, you have
movie,
to compare it.
but,
It was
but
it was really
you know,
well done.
To Neo's point, like he's right in the fact that okay, technically the way the story is geared more in Space Jam is like we get more of Monstars because like that story is there of what the aliens are trying to do. So we got to see a little bit of that side story to get more depth into the movie that doesn't have depth already. But that's kind of the issue that plays me with this one is that I would like to see the stars be a little bit more, you know, even as a basketball fan, just like to get a couple more lines, like a better mini arc to why we have these stars here, or maybe even a couple throwaway lines, I guess, like a couple more than just like Dame saying Dame time, or
maybe they
that
get
one
deleted
scene.
too if they lose.
maybe maybe it's some stakes for them. But
Yes.
we're already at a 2 hour, 155 runtime, which is already, I think, 20 to 30 minutes more than it needed to be, which is a whole nother
Yes.
thing. So I see they had to trim around where they wanted to.
With the Goon Squad, was there a reason why Dom scanned like a spider and snake into some players, and then the power of time to just one?
Just upgrade.
Because he said, because Damian Lillard has this thing, what do you call it, when like at the end of games,
Dame time.
or-
Dame time.
yeah, it's Dame time. Like it's an actual thing
okay,
of
that's
his-
tied
of
to
his-
them.
yeah,
Okay.
of his brand. So that's why he was like, if you just need to put something in that's Dame time, and then what do you call it, Klay Thompson, and I think it matches their all their brands. Like
I will
Klay Thompson
agree.
is known as like one of the Splash Brothers, but you know, you can say it's weird. Why in basketball do we say, oh, that shot's wet, but then we can also say, oh, heat check, he's on fire.
He's on fire.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
And
That's
that
a
was
good
fun. I
point.
like those
That's a
little.
good point.
There were little nods to the players and to their characteristics as players, as well, and some little Easter eggs too. Especially if you watch basketball, some Easter eggs of people's games and stuff. The only problem is that their powers and stuff was really off screen. They just popped up.
Yeah, you saw
Well,
like
yeah.
maybe one scene with them like
Yeah.
really using it against one player, and then that was it.
but when you think about it, this movie did a lot more for their brand and their image than the original Space Jam did for any of the four.
Well,
I mean,
whose
it's a
brand?
memorable.
WB's
But-
brand or the
No,
players?
the players,
No,
brand,
he's
like
talking-
in their
Okay.
individual brand, than it did for any of the other players in like the original movie. Because I remember every single player that was a part of the Monstars that got their power taken, but it also made them look like a fool. Or it made the NBA look completely incompetent without Michael, and
Oh, man.
there was
They
that one
did,
scene
yeah.
with the Lakers locker room. It was like, we're not going in there, and it's like you don't go, you don't play, you don't get paid or something. And they brought out the hazmat suits, and I was like, it seemed the subtext of the movie was like, oh, without Michael, the NBA is completely and utterly hopeless. That's the
Yes,
subtext of the
And
first.
yeah, you're
movie.
right.
Yeah,
That was funny. Yeah, you're right. That's
the competition level wasn't as high. Yeah, they're over here, ready to quit because of some disease that's going around. Charles Barkley's at the altar, or not the altar, he's at confessional saying, I'll never go out with Madonna again, That's funny stuff. So it does make fun of them, but it's almost as the Goon Squad is more of a throwaway gag. They allude to their nicknames, they give them a little quick spotlight, and that's really it.
We don't see him
Because-
anymore. We don't see him at the end. We don't see maybe even a scene of the actual players like, hey, what
Yeah.
are my scans doing here?
Mhm.
Like, is
Because
that me?
right, this game was being broadcasted, right?
They
LG
digitized
Yeah.
everybody that opened up the
Any
Yeah, oh,
digital
yeah.
device,
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
cell phone, computer, just yeah.
At least they put Ernie Johnson in there.
Yeah, shout
That
out
was
to Ernie.
funny.
Shout out
That's
to
funny.
Lil Rel too.
Little Rel as
That
well.
was a funny little combo. I don't know where they thought of that, but so let's talk about the game. You know, the game start, and it's based on Dom's video game, and of course, the Tunes and LeBron, they're losing because the game requires you to have fun. You can't spell fundamentals without fun. And either way, they're losing. And he's like, don't any of y'all actually play basketball? They're like, we were trying to tell you earlier. Like, but no, they don't play basketball. And so then we get, you know, the whole, I guess it's contrived at this point, is that if you just let the Looney Tunes be the Looney Tunes, they'll come through for you. So we get the whole locker room scene, which it did not stack up to, you know, the iconic Mike's secret stuff from the original one.
Secret sauce.
However, I think the best joke was given to them during the halftime show. I mean, during the halftime when they're in the locker room. Talking about, was anybody actually thinking? What was everybody's thoughts before the reveal? I think it was the best joke.
I knew they were gonna do something where they pull the rug from underneath us. Like they were 100%, because they kept building it up and they kept saying, like, you know, his like the career stats, and it was Looney Tunes. It was a comedy. I'm expecting someone like some gag. I didn't expect Michael B. Jordan. I don't know why that didn't click to me at first, but I was not expecting the Michael Jordan to appear. I knew there was some gag going on.
I was caught so off guard because the way Sylvester introduced it, you know,
He was hyping him up.
Yeah, I found Michael Jordan just sitting in the crowd. I don't know. It didn't register to me at all. I just thought maybe he'd come in and just make a joke and say, "Oh."
Once you see the top head,
yes, you.
Yeah.
They start with a bottom. They start with a bottom shot, and that
On
you're
purpose.
still wondering, like, okay, because he's
But
wearing Jordans.
That
But once you
drop,
see
though,
the silhouette, it's kind of.
but
like the full
that was
silhouette.
hilarious.
Was
though.
and also the fact that it's Michael B. Jordan and Michael A. You know, Daffy's like, we want Michael A. Jordan. You got
Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan.
And he even goes to point out, he said, "I thought he aged gracefully."
Yeah.
And then Michael B even goes as far as, you know, I'm rooting for y'all, and he starts doing the quote from did you ever watch him in Friday Night Lights, the show?
Yes. I didn't watch it, but Maria literally has the shirt with the saying on the back of it.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't watch it either, but I was hearing that. I was like, I think that's from Friday Night Lights.
Mm-hmm.
Because listen, man, I died at that. I just thought,
Can I say that there are a good amount of funny parts in this movie? I know
Yes.
we've been like ripping it, but I want to say, like, I didn't love it, but I did laugh sometimes. It's just out there, but it's supposed to be. But even with Al G, like, he turned into like what, Steve Jobs or like Apple or like at the G Bar when he was in like the
Yeah,
glasses.
yeah.
That's a
G-Bar.
really funny scene where he's like, yeah, I know the guy. He's a genius. He's me, and he's at like the G Bar, the Al G Bar.
Mhm.
yep. You know, it's a funny movie. It is. And again, it's enjoyable. Just a matter of if you just sit and compare the movie to the first one, you probably are not going to enjoy it as much as you could.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's plenty of funny parts. I think at this point, after the halftime, and the Looney Tunes are actually allowed to be loony, I think they had some little funny bits out there.
And they held on to that too
Wile E.
long. They
Coyote
held
with
on to that.
his multiplier.
The
Classic
multiplier.
Classic
Mhm.
Looney Tunes bit.
Um,
Or the time, or even before when Dame, Kronos, as he's known, stops time and like ties up Roadrunner and puts him in front of Wile E. Coyote on a dinner plate. That was funny.
yes.
That was genuinely funny.
What'd you think about, Porky's that thing was getting a lot of hype before the movie even dropped. Porky's
rap.
I wasn't a fan.
I mean, it was
Porky
it was
bit.
It was
fine.
funny.
It was
I thought
fine,
funny.
yeah. I
I
mean, I
mean,
don't know.
He's funnier
I-
as the cameraman.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Oh.
think, what do you call it? I think this movie had understands the culture of Space Jam better than the original, because the original was, like, and I'm gonna just, address it. But the original was directed by like some white dude named like Joe or something like that. And the movie is directed by like something Lee. I know he's the cousin of Spike Lee, but he's done some other things.
Oh, this one is Malcolm D. Lee. Yes.
Malcolm Lee. And this feels, more understanding of the culture that embraced the original Space Jam and also the culture of Looney Tunes. Because, it had moments where they felt very genuine, from like a perspective of like, oh, these are just how people act, people talk, and, in these cultures, rather than, oh, we are the perfect, family in suburbia, and no, look, the Looney Tunes coming,
I mean, there's a joke when they first see Algie and LeBron's like, he's black? The computer's black? What the heck? I'm like, what kind of line is this? What is it? But it's a solid line. It has it has more depth than I think people think to it.
Actually, yeah. I mean, because
layers, yeah.
I mean, just that's a role that easily could have gone to a white actor, And had this sequel came out 15 years before, it probably would have been a white actor. They probably wouldn't have thought of doing Don Cheadle. That looked like a role for someone like
Mike Myers.
Mike Myers, yeah, or Steve Martin or somebody,
Steve Martin was the villain of the.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, action. Steve Martin was. You're right. Sorry.
What do you call it?
Steve Martin.
It also, it also makes you think about like, oh, who were Michael Jordan's best friends or the people he hung around with in like the original Space Jam? It was Bill Murray, Larry Bird, and I don't want to say Wayne Knight. Is that Wayne Knight?
Wayne Knight.
Oh, Wayne Knight, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that wasn't his friend though.
Oh, you talking about Stan?
He shat on Stan the whole movie.
He did. He was actually pretty much a jerk.
This guy was he's a big jerk. Yeah.
A punching bag, basically.
And when versus like this movie, it just feels more genuine, It kind of like the last movie kind of felt like, oh, Bill Murray's talking to Michael Jordan, but you don't really believe that Bill Murray is talking to Michael Jordan and that they're friends.
I believed it. That seemed real.
On Bill Murray's end, Bill Murray seemed like the friend that was like, oh yeah, I'm your friend. But Michael Jordan's like, I've only met you twice.
Well, yeah,
Michael.
They're golf friends. Yes, they're golf friends. And then when Bill starts talking about, you think, can I play in the NBA? Of course, him and Larry shut him down real quick. He's like, it's because I'm white, and he's like, Larry's white. But talking about genuine, we get to the climax of the film. LeBron is about to dunk on his son or something, right? And and what's he do instead? What does he just stop? And basically, he gives him the whole, "You're my son. You can do whatever you want. I love you regardless." Did it feel warranted?
Yourself, Dom.
Yeah,
believe in yourself. Did it feel warranted? Did LeBron earn that moment with his son?
I think so. There were many points throughout the movie where his arc was very clearly stated at the beginning of the movie, and it influenced the direction. This is something that he held dear, and then every single decision that he made was leading him to that moment. Like his relationship with Bugs, his plan of attack to recruit, Warner Brothers characters to play a basketball game with him. His misunderstanding of the game, like his purposeful misunderstanding of the game. His just everything that happens throughout the movie, lends him to and when he finally starts having fun and sees that his son isn't having fun, he realizes oh, I just started having fun again, but my son is. I need to reach out. I need to be a father, which is what he wanted to do near the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. Story beat wise, it was earned, but execution wise, it was not. I wasn't. I couldn't feel the emotion that I wanted to feel. I couldn't feel the emotion.
Yeah.
Like I'm like it's earned. Like I don't discredit it, but I couldn't feel it. And I think that's the tough thing is that they took I think they took leaps that I actually commend them for in the writing. They have to. I actually agree that if you try to make it its own entity, but a cookie cutter what Space Jam was, and not try to go a little bit more, then like you definitely don't have a shot, right? They're already in an uphill battle, you know, in my opinion. So that's fine. But I'd be lying if I, you know, saw LeBron look at his kid and I said, oh, I can feel him wanting to be, you know, bring his son in. I couldn't feel it. And I say that with the most objective, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it caught me because I was coming off of work, but like I was looking at it and I was just looking at it. And I'm like, all right. That makes sense from a story point. So let's keep moving. We're almost
Did you feel more in the original Space Jam where his son throws a thumbs up at him from the stands?
I don't feel any type of like emotion like that in original Space Jam. I will say that.
I
see it a little bit, but like no. When I watch Space Jam, especially now, like I'm just having fun. Like I'm not gonna get the depth I'm looking for. Maybe every now and then, maybe you get
this
more
film
depth.
Tries to give you depth
because they try to give you depth. I mean, you get more depth in Basketball Jones.
You do. It's true. It's true. Dr. Jace, did you feel this? Did you feel that father-son moment? No.
I did not. No, I mean, kind of going off what Rose was saying, like the movie, like everything LeBron was making up, all the decisions he was making up until this point, his character had to be in that moment because that was the whole point of his story arc, I guess. It was to come to terms with his son and realize that he needs to start listening to him and, you know, let him do what he wants. He doesn't have to
also
be a
himself
basketball
too.
Star. Yeah,
also himself because they started
sure.
beginning with him game. So
right, exactly. Like that. Like I felt like in that moment, his character needed to be there, but kind of like what Rose was saying, I wasn't sitting there with like a tissue box, like wiping away my tears.
God.
I mean,
I wouldn't think so.
I
don't think
know.
anybody was, but somebody might have, and that's okay if you were, and that's okay if you were.
Let me
Art
raise
is interpretive. Art is interpretive. So
let me raise you. Did you grab a tissue box for Bugs's sacrifice, his selfless?
I almost
well,
I was like, I started shedding a tear. I was like, oh, they really are killing off Bugs Bunny.
Well, I knew they were not just gonna kill off a brand character like
that would be wild.
But like, you know, the fact that they're even
Change up the game of Looney Tunes.
But I mean, the fact that they're even attempting it, I was like, oh, okay, we're doing something with this. And then the scene after just flushed that down the toilet completely, and I'm like, okay, so that was pointless. Now I hate it. I don't like it. But I will not deny in that moment I was feeling something about Bugs Bunny dying before the end sequence with him.
Can someone answer? Did he have to do the whole step back move? Did he have to do that? Did Bugs have to be the one to do that?
Nobody says that he would rather. That was his whole point of, like, you know, his arc. He was like, I got my fam. He was basically pulling a Dom Toretto, where he said, I got my family, now I have to save my family.
Oh no, I'm basically saying, did he have to do the move? They were just
he had to because Don Cheadle was cheating in the game.
They need to glitch.
Oh, so they made it purposely glitch.
Yeah.
Right.
So he couldn't cheat.
Exactly.
Did you watch the movie?
I did. I was a little confused on that part. I was just like, I thought they just needed a score.
No,
they did.
Huddle.
They just
they had a score
like,
and shut it down.
How can we score if he keeps cheating?
Got it.
Right, because remember they did score and get ahead of him, but then he reversed the scoreboard.
Okay, got it.
So
I'm sorry, I missed that little tidbit.
But I think that I knew that the twist was gonna come in the form of and I think this would have been an interesting. But I think they wanted to they wanted to just say, let's just make one movie instead of having to open the door for a sequel. I think that would have been the perfect lead-in to, Bugs Bunny didn't die. He just went into the real world. And then it's like, what do we do now? You know what I mean? But then he was...
But then they bring in everyone else.
Yeah,
and it took it away. I'm like... So
Well,
what was stopping the rest of them?
They were like, let's just make one movie instead of pulling a Marvel.
I mean, technically, if they wanted to run with the Looney Tunes being in the real world, that could be a whole series. I mean,
They could.
that's akin to the Muppets, though. What's the difference?
I'd watch it. Yeah.
I'd watch it
Except Looney
too.
Tunes would be better.
Bugs did not save all of his family. There were more Looney Tunes in the first movie.
Oh,
than
they
in the
were
second movie.
they were missing so many Looney Tunes.
Hey,
Which
which
I
ones were
get
they
why they
missing?
did that. They didn't want to go too wild on the story, like on trying. They wouldn't be able to do many arcs like they did if they.
Where's the
brought-
frog, man?
Oh, the
Mouse.
okay.
Little
Hello,
mouse.
my baby. Hello, my
Oh,
honey.
stop it!
Yeah. Don't,
Where's he?
Don't.
He had a cameo in the first movie.
So did
Mouse
every other
too.
Looney
The
Tune.
mouse. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Pepe
yes.
Le Pew.
So
Well,
Pepe Le Pew got
Ooh.
cut. You heard about
Oh,
that?
I
yeah.
did not. That's why I brought it up.
Pepe Le Okay. Well, okay. Let's save that. I got one. We got like two. The tunes as a whole is coming up.
Mhm.
Pepe Le Pew. Don't forget. All
You're
right.
I'm
not.
just
that's-
kidding. I
that's-
actually did hear Pepe Le Pew got caught.
Yeah,
Got,
he
cut.
got cut. He got cut.
And I get it.
All right, so that's the movie. Save the day, saves his son, shuts down algae. Bugs doesn't actually die. That's the movie. Now before we go into our little final bit talking about how we rank this film, all right, King James, LeBron James as an actor. Are we too critical? Because it is Space Jam. We're not supposed to come in here expecting
No, right.
an Oscar-winning performance.
I feel like you can still acknowledge that the acting was bad on his end, but at the same time, you're aware that it's Space Jam, and you're aware that Michael Jordan also in the. I mean, I'm no matter what, the movie's called Space Jam: A New Legacy. I am gonna compare it to the original Space Jam because it's in the same title, and just because of that, I acknowledge, okay, LeBron James is a basketball star. He's not an actor. Same with Michael Jordan. I'm not coming here expecting him to be at the Oscars for 2022. I'm just not, and that's fine, and that's perfectly fine. So no, he not a good actor at all.
But you can tell that he was trying in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can tell
certainly
that he
tried.
Really cared. You can tell that you can tell that and I think as the movie went on, you could tell that they were seeing. I will give him this. He did surprisingly well, voice acting wise. He took a lot of risk with his voice acting when he was a cartoon. Then, that I felt were I need to mention it. All his screams and all his things. It felt really I felt like he was a tune instead of him being LeBron James. But I also feel like he was just trying throughout the film, and I can respect that. I know that this is he wants to get into acting. I know that he is an athlete first, but I think that him just even trying to do these emotions and try and go there and try and go to these places is good. So I can give him a B.
Ooh,
A B.
respectfully.
A
Okay.
B.
For
Respect.
effort.
Yeah. A respectful B.
It didn't. I respect the attempt, and I'm not mad at that. The movie is banking on a lot of his performance too, but I just think it put about a third of the movie is reliant on LeBron's performance, in my opinion, and that was I think that's what kind of hurts some of it, at least in the beginning. I think if they would have trimmed out some of the beginning, I agree. Him, once he was animated, voice acting wise, was fine. I didn't even think nothing of it, right? When he was voice acting, I was actually entertained. But him live acting, you could tell that he was struggling with trying to deal with the CGI and the technology there, which is very tough to do. But you could tell that he was struggling because they just had so many shots and so many instances where he's interacting, or they're making him, or he might be doing himself. They're pushing him to do these lines, and he's trying to get them. But it didn't always land for me more times than not. And I think the biggest thing, I was like, okay, it's gonna be tough. They dragged it out a little bit. But the biggest thing, which has nothing to do with his acting, is the final scene of the game itself, which I know we're wrapping up the game. The iconic one in Space Jam is Jordan stretching his arm out. He finally does something loony, which it looks very bad, but it's actually a very like good moment, I think, for me in the film. I don't get that with LeBron. Like the stakes are there. His son throwing the upgrade is also a good add-on, but like that final like signature, like him like reaching his peak and dunking the ball or whatever it is he's trying to do to seal the game. I didn't get that same feeling of like going for it like I did with the first one, if that makes sense.
No, that makes
Michael
perfect
stretches
sense.
out and he turns loony. And the story might have been set up a lot better in the first one for Jordan to get to that point than LeBron. I will say that. So I'm doing a disservice by comparing the two. But I'm spoiled by that, I guess. And it keeps popping up in my head. So overall, I give him a C performance, C+. I give him C+. I seen him in Trainwreck. I didn't even like the movie Trainwreck, but I like LeBron in Trainwreck. And I saw a lot of potential there. And it seemed like he stayed where he was at since I've seen him in Trainwreck. So I have to put him at C+. B-. Sure, I do B-.
So.
He brought LA a championship, so I B-.
Sure. I
But
will
really
say,
C+.
oh my goodness. I will say, I think in this film, they gave LeBron more to do than Jordan in the first film. So with that said, he's already working an uphill battle as far as, he's not an actor. But Jordan, they weren't trying to give this story full of heart and layer the character of Michael Jordan, Even when they were down, I don't know. That's not how Jordan talked in the locker room. I mean, granted, he's talking to Looney Tunes. I think he would have been a lot more upset.
From
You know?
stories you heard, you would be like, wow, you're really trash, aren't you?
Yeah, and what? Punching out Steve Kerr, probably would have punched out Daffy. I digress. So I think I give credit to LeBron for just, giving all he could, whatever the amount that all is, to these more, chewy scenes, these more emotionally charged scenes. Michael didn't have to do that. So, but again, it's fine because it's Space Jam. We're not here for, do I always want a great performance? Yes. I'm not gonna harp on this movie for not necessarily meeting that. So it's okay.
Right.
Well, let's talk about the other half of this film, the tunes. All right. Earlier we said, the relevancy, because they sent him to the tunes because the tunes are like all gone. Are the tunes relevant? Are Looney Tunes relevant?
I don't think they are, at least in this movie. I mean, for me, I have a personal bias towards Daffy Duck.
I love Daffy.
Daffy's my favorite. And to me, there was not enough Daffy Duck in the movie. He was sidelined to be what? Like the manager, basically.
Yeah.
In the movie. He didn't play basketball. I'm like, what's this? I mean,
to be fair, in the original, he does. The only reason why he wants to be on a basketball team is for the fashion. He doesn't really play in the original a lot.
He's in that final five with him, Bugs,
Yes.
Lola, Bill Murray, and Mike.
he is.
But when you really think about it, yeah, I do agree with you, Dr. J. Like, I'm glad I brought it up, but there wasn't enough Daffy in this film for me to be comfortable with the representation of Looney Tunes.
I don't think there was enough Looney Tunes in general.
No, I feel like everyone had a moment to shine except for Daffy. And I think Daffy should be synonymous with Bugs Bunny because Bugs works best when he's playing off of Daffy.
Yes.
But
They're the Batman and Superman of Looney Tunes.
They are.
They really are, and they make a joke of that in this film. And Daffy works best when he's like bothering Porky. But what do you call it? You don't get a lot of him in this film. They have this extended sequence. Like, I think it's one of the longest sequences of, getting someone to join them in the film besides Lola Bunnies, because Lola had this extensive sequence. But then they don't really go anywhere with it. He makes a couple of jokes and then that's it. I feel like he should have honestly been honestly, he should have been the one like talking back to Algae Rhythm. Like he really should have, because he was probably the one that could just annoy the crap out of him.
They both were technically coaches, so Algae was hilarious as a coach. A lot of references to basketball and football coaches. When he had the headset on, that was definitely a Belichick. When he had the hoodie with the headset on, that was definitely a Bill Belichick reference. That was great. And meanwhile, Daffy's doing nothing on the coaching side. So
Yeah,
yells one time. So I agree. Definitely got to include the Superman.
I feel as a whole, the Looney Tunes themselves were sidelined. And maybe it's because it was the switch. As far as, in the original film, it's the Looney Tunes who had everything on the line. In this film, it's LeBron who has everything on the line.
Right.
Yeah.
The Looney Tunes got a lot more characterization, I feel, in the first film. Even if it was just sight gags like, Foghorn Leghorn skipping to go shoot the ball and the green Monstar lights him on fire and he's like, would you like your chicken dark or extra crispy?
I will like to say before that he sings a song about he wish he was back in the land of cotton or something. They should
dated joke, very dated.
Some of the stuff is dated back there. R. Kelly's catalog and
that was in the movie.
That is in the beginning and the ending.
Oh, it doesn't help that it's put into the backdrop of Child Mike. Like anything, like R. Kelly's
it's the intro and it's the outro, basically.
Listen, in our last section, we're gonna briefly talk about the soundtrack.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, I'm
No, you're fine. You're fine. But
good to mention it.
No, it's mentionable. It's coming. Lola Bunny. There was a lot of hype around her with Zendaya playing her.
Didn't do much,
if anything, at all.
I felt like she wasn't even a good fit either for Lola.
Zendaya, that's weird to me. I didn't.
Because Zendaya's a good actress, but a voice actress, I don't know. Like
for Lola Bunny, it's really it's kind of iconic.
She just didn't say much.
She was serviceable.
She did fine. She just didn't say much.
I mean, what do you call it? She was fine, but it's better than the original film where we're not even like. She comes
we can talk
and
about
like, and is very Miss Roger Rabbit or
Jessica Rabbit,
Jessica Rabbit-esque. And people were mad about this movie because they're like, no,
they nerfed Lola.
People were so.
Oh, they were livid.
Well, she's a better basketball player in the first one.
Right.
She's a better basketball.
She was literally made
for
play basketball. But to be fair, they weren't playing basketball in this movie.
They were playing a video game.
Yeah, they're playing
a video game. That's a very great point.
They were playing basically NBA Jam. Like
time out.
Not even.
Were y'all upset?
Jam, yeah.
Were y'all upset about the desexualization of Lola Bunny?
I'm upset about the desexualization of a bunny.
Correct. That is the crazy part of the song. That is the crazy part.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny when it happened because you saw literally it was this, and I can't even see my thumb. It was this, whatever. The Lola in my picture. It was this Lola, that version that when that image came out, that's what got a lot of people pissed. Because they were saying, oh no, where's my Lola Bunny with the
shorter shorts and the bigger breasts.
They got some demons to address.
Correct.
It ain't that.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny.
Someone said, look, it doesn't matter what they make her as. The Rule 34 artists are always gonna make something to get off to these bastards. Like, and it's true. It's true. Like, if you really are pressed about that, if you really want to watch a kids movie to get off. That's something that's something that's some demons you have to work through.
All right, so lastly to talk about the tunes, Pepe Le Pew
question.
Yes. But Pepe Le Pew cut from the film, Me Too movement, rape culture, all that jazz. They had a scene in the movie where they addressed Pepe Le Pew in consent. and they took it out of the film.
That would have came off ingenuine, I think, and very distasteful. I think if they would have left that in, even if the intention was not, I think it would have came off a little like him giving consent. Like
No, it was so they were
him
telling
learning consent.
Him learning consent. It was
him learning consent in a Space Jam movie.
LeBron was basically telling him. Yes,
with his acting chops too.
Yes, so yes, he would
They
have
made
to
the right
really deliver. He was, Pepe, you can't just do that. She didn't give consent. And then I forget who the actress is, but they end up beating the crap out of Pepe.
That doesn't.
No,
Wait, it was another Looney Tunes character.
It was a human character, I believe.
Oh, a human. Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's not gonna work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting thing. They were trying to, do better with a character who would be deemed problematic in this day and age. And they just basically said, let's not, we don't need it.
At this point, is he even a staple?
I think he is a staple.
I mean, he's part of the catalog. He's one of the more recognizable characters.
He is one of the more, but like at this point, is he a staple to it? Like he was gone, but did we? I know I said like where he was, but I was.
I mean, can you get by without Pepe Le Pew? Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Like you didn't watch this movie saying, "But wait a minute, where's Pepe Le Pew?"
If your favorite character is Pepe Le Pew, maybe you need to do some. So maybe we need some therapy. That's all I'm saying.
Got some demons to get out again.
I mean, you can whatchamacallit? You can, contest or attest to whether or not Pepe Le Pew is just an overtly French romantic portrayal of that time period, or you can make the argument that he is promoting, like whatever rape culture or, just overtly comes on too strong. But this movie said we're not gonna even bother. He's not gonna be in it.
It's a slippery slope. So,
it is.
I get the objectivity to it, but it's a slippery slope. So if I'm making a movie or just in general, like what am I really trying to gain from trying to include this character at that point?
Correct.
Do you think it'll be in a deleted scene for the Blu-ray 4K special edition?
I mean, maybe. However, we're in such a stream-based age that people are just gonna watch this on stream. That they're if people want to go out of their if people want to go out of their way to see that scene, they're just gonna wait for someone to upload on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, but shout out HBO Max again for making all their movies available throughout the year that they're gonna release, just available to stream without any payment. Unlike some other platforms.
Hey, don't do that. They might be listening.
Who?
Good. I hope they listen.
Well,
leave it alone.
Don't bow down to HBO too quick. They're gonna start putting ads in some of this stuff soon.
Oh,
that's only if you get the $9.99 version.
Oh god.
So you have to upgrade to a more expensive.
No, there was no upgrade. The original was always $14.99.
I don't think I was paying $14.99 at first. We digress. All right, let's wrap this podcast up. We covered whether or not 25 years is too late. We recognize that this film did a lot to add a lot of heart to the film and add a lot of gravitas and stakes to the overall plot. Would we have preferred a carbon copy? Is anyone team carbon copy?
No.
Prime example, Hangover and Hangover Part 2. Those are carbon copies of each other.
And they came out 2-3 years apart.
Correct.
You know what? Maybe kids would have loved that, but kids would love anything because when it came out when I was in 7th grade, and I remember everyone was like, "It's just like the first one. It's so good, except they're in I don't know, whatever place they're in." So
it's okay. Neither one aged. That whole trilogy didn't age well. So
I mean, it didn't. But as longtime fans of Space Jam, would we have rather have just seen an updated version where instead of Charles Barkley
No.
and Patrick Ewing.
No, because we already have a copy that's tied to us. That'd be more to the point of for the next generation.
Yeah,
I
it
guess.
would be for the next generation. Yeah, you're
Right.
right.
Be a remake. Yeah.
So no, we all good on that part.
Blade Runner was a great sequel. What was that over 30
There,
years?
yeah, there are some exceptions. Yeah, Blade Runner. I hear. Yeah, I've never seen either one, but I heard the second one was good.
That's a whole other discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Agreed.
We didn't talk about this in depth, but we cannot talk about Space Jam without talking about the soundtrack. The soundtrack is wonderful. Did anybody listen to this soundtrack for the new one?
A couple cuts.
Yeah. And it seems more updated to like the times.
For sure.
I just feel maybe this music will be iconic for the younger generation, but unfortunately something that like even before we even saw Space Jam, like as kids, because I was only a couple months old when it came out, we knew the soundtrack.
The music, yeah.
The original Space Jam song is so iconic.
Yes.
Quad City.
Yeah.
Right. What was the Space Jam theme in this movie?
No.
It wasn't, right?
Little
They
remix
had-
of it.
Well, they have.
A slight remix of it. Well,
Wait, like the
it's
Quad
like its
City
own
Space
version.
Jam?
I mean, because
I
I'm
believe
only
there
asking
was a
because I
small
didn't hear it.
because what's that song
Unless I
Little
missed
Uzi
it.
redoes? It's,
No, that's Pump Up the Jam. He did Pump Up the Jam.
that's what they put in there.
Yeah, Pump Up the Jam is like the only real nod to the original soundtrack. Everything else is pretty original. But I
Right.
mean, Space Jam, the original one, produced Grammy Award winning I Believe I Can Fly. That song.
Yeah.
No, it's an R. Kelly song. I'm sorry.
Hey,
We're not- we get
No,
minus 1 point.
no,
But even
no.
if-
Listen,
even if you take that out, you have Fly Like an Eagle, which I think is one of the.
Fly
I
Like an
actually think
Eagle.
that's one of the best tracks on that.
For sure.
those are iconic.
Yeah.
Like you literally think about the movie and those songs. At least
You
for
have the
me,
scene,
they
yeah.
come to my head. They literally
Yes.
appear in my head. So I felt like this movie, New Legacy, didn't really have any music that was on that level where I'm gonna like 2 years from now I'm gonna remember New Legacy and think, oh yeah, you remember that song? I don't even know the soundtrack to New Legacy.
So I listened to the whole soundtrack, and they are like thrown into the film, specifically in the human scenes. Like, I believe the St. John and SZA song is playing when Algie and Dom are talking in the I bar or whatever. But yeah, I don't think, yes, Dr. Jace, I don't think they're gonna cross over and hold that weight of that nostalgia factor to anchor them to this film.
Never know, because it's not for us to say.
I mean, again, if I listen to the radio. They're not on the radio. I believe almost every major hit from the original Space Jam got ample play time on the radio.
But now it's not.
I guess you're
there's
right. The radio's not a thing. Yes.
Yeah,
It's
it's
different.
more
It's
about
streaming.
streaming.
God,
And
that's
people,
annoying.
people will be like, it's for the kids to decide. It's for the kids to be like, yeah, I really like this song. I don't even know if Dame is on it. Is Dame on it?
He has a they actually, when Dame Time came on, they actually was playing a verse of his,
Oh yeah.
which I
So-
thought was cool because he actually does rap. But other than that,
Yeah, and he's actually one of the only good rappers in the NBA.
great point.
But it's not for us to decide. I think that when kids grow up, they're gonna be like, and maybe this movie will have a lasting impact. But also, you have to take into account that with everything that's been happening for the last year and a half, it's not the same to stream a movie on on HBO Max than it is to go see a movie in theaters and then buy it on VHS. This was and I think that's the only detriment that it will have. I think the new generation is not going to have that moment where they're like, we're going to go see a movie, we're going to go see Looney Tunes and LeBron James, and it is going to be like, oh, we're going to stream it. So I guess it's good and it's bad. It's easily accessible, but and best might be more forgettable because of it.
Very true.
I just think they did a better job with the first one of connecting, of bringing fans of two different things that can overlap, but bringing basketball fans with Looney Tunes fans. And that could be a lot to how the movie was structured. But I feel like if you're a Looney Tunes fan, you'll enjoy Space Jam. You can potentially. If you're a basketball fan, you'll enjoy Space Jam because of how the basketball cameos are implemented. But with this one, with the new legacy, it's like, if you're you will enjoy if you're a Looney Tunes fan, right? I don't know if you enjoyed it if you're really a basketball fan like that.
I don't think so. I think,
and it's not necessarily a basketball movie. You're right.
Yeah,
but I think that's you have LeBron as the lead man, so like basketball people are coming here too, saying like, okay, let me see the basketball element, and it's only sprinkled compared to the Looney Tunes element, which is funny because the story's revolved around more LeBron and his kid than the Looney Tunes versus the one before, debatably, but still. So yeah, I think that's another tough part of it. But they had some good references, they had some good content and some things they did right. So I'll never take that away from them. I don't think the soundtrack will land, but like Nino said, like it's not for us to decide. The new generation gonna come in, they're gonna decide what songs are supposed to be the hot songs to remember for the next 20 years. And we'll just be the old people, still young. And either we'll be there or we'll be, playing old 90s music like it's jazz. So
so to close it off then, I guess, what do you score this film? And did you like it better than the first or not?
I score this film a 0 out of 10. Specifically for the reason is that Cartoon Network is owned by Warner Brothers. We all agree about that, right?
Yeah, it's a fact.
Okay, and Cartoon Network owns Captain Planet, right?
Sure. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Where was Don Cheadle Captain Planet in this film? Where was Don Cheadle Captain Planet in this film? Wasted up.
Okay, so a 0 then because of that.
No, I give it a 6.
Okay. And you stated that you enjoyed this film more. Is that right?
Yeah, I enjoyed this. Watching it, I enjoyed it more. As a film, I can put it on. I think I'll revisit it. And I know that when I watched it with my family, because I have a kid, they really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. They were like, wow, this is actually something I can that I can watch and pay attention to. So, I try to put on the original Space Jam and they were not having it. So.
Oh no.
No?
It's fair. Different times.
Yeah.
Okay.
True. Dr. Jace, where do you rank, or how do you score?
I would give it like a 5. Only because the first one I gave a 6 too.
Oh.
I acknowledge that the original Space Jam is not a good movie, but I still like it. It's still enjoyable. For this one, I just wasn't having as much fun as I did with the original. And maybe there's some nostalgia bias in that too. Maybe, because I grew up with the original, I just naturally am more attracted to it than I am with this one, because this one has that uphill battle where it's not made for my generation. It's made for the new generation, the new kids on the block. And it's trying to appeal to them more so than me. So in my head, as I'm watching this movie, it's always going to have that uphill battle of how does this compare to the original? Because I guarantee you the target audience that for this movie, they probably never even watched the first Space Jam. They probably saw the little Michael Jordan reference and they're asking their parents, who's that?
Or they probably say, it's Killmonger.
It's Killmonger. Why are they upset that they got Killmonger on the team in the bench? So, and the movie was fine on its own. I didn't like it more than the original. I think a 5 is a good baseline. It wasn't dog shit terrible like in the 3 or 4 or 2. To me, if you're below a 5, that's when it's like, okay, you didn't make a movie.
Like you below the 5, you didn't make a movie.
Right.
Okay.
Five is like, okay, I can watch this. This is fine.
All right. Oh boy. Rose the Crafter.
5.5. Off the first watch. Second watch, I'll see if it grows. I don't think it'll drop. But I do enjoy the first one still a little bit more. Nostalgia plays a role into it too, I guess. But 5.5. Ambitious, but just short of the mark or short of the basket.
Oh.
Okay. Goodness, I'm pretty much in the same area as y'all. I think I would like to give it a 7. However,
that's the same area as us. Yep.
it's like right above. Man. It's just like right above
everybody.
Well, I mean, I gave Black Widow a 7.
Okay.
Oh, so as good as Black Widow.
So it's as good as Black Widow. This is a better
movie than Black Widow.
Whoa. I think I enjoyed.
So this movie is better than Captain Marvel.
I enjoyed this film better than Black Widow. So actually, yes, that's a good 7.1. I like how the movie tried to differ itself. I think, yes, I would call it ambitious as well. It may be overly ambitious. I think they got a good formula. I'm sure a Space Jam 3 might come in the future. I think they just need, I mean, I'm talking like far future.
Like
or just another Looney Tunes another Looney Tunes film.
We don't have
we
don't have another Michael Jordan or LeBron James.
We don't. You're right. So we might get a Looney Tunes back in action type film. And I think it's just all about finding that balance between the human element and the toon element. And I think this one leaned more heavily on the human element. It's where the tunes got a little lost in the mix. And to me, that was the most upsetting part for me. But there are funny parts in the film, and I appreciate the heart they try to give it. So yeah, 7.1. Yes, the original still ranks above.
Wait, what's the original?
I never gave it. I just know I love it.
Now's your chance. Go for it.
An 8.
All right.
Solid film.
8.
Michael's son sucks at baseball, and he never addresses it again with his son ever again.
It's an territory. 8. I like
because
it.
I bet you that's a nice reflection of his parenting.
Wait, can I say something real quick at the end?
Yes.
Michael gives back all his power, all the ball of powers back to the stars, and right before he does it, it's a line where he's like, "I'm gonna regret doing this," and it's like, really, Michael, you just beat the Monstars, which is just them reincarnated with the skills. Are you gonna regret giving them? You're busting their tails regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was a jerk line. He actually said it. I was like, he's being a jerk again.
He has to play with them. None of them are on the same team.
Nope.
They're all on different teams during the the expansion era. Come on.
Well, didn't on Last Dance he had them build a whole facility so he could still train?
No, well, yeah, Warner Brothers built a whole. No, yeah,
Last Dance, that was during Space Jam shooting.
Yeah,
right?
Warner Brothers. They built
had
a whole
the players. He had the players come and run pickup games, and he was low key scouting the players.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, Michael's cut from a different cloth, man.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Oh boy. Okay, so that concludes our deep dive of Space Jam: A New Legacy. Again, take our opinions with a grain of salt, or like a glass of wine. But yes, that is how we feel. And again, care to disagree? Care to show your love for one of our opinions on this film? By all means, please comment below and tell us what you thought of the film. Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Were you missing Daffy like some of us? Would you have liked to see Pepe Le Pew? Tell us your thoughts. And of course, follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And that's at the Yonkō Table. And again, just come in with an open mind that we are very opinionated people. And if you disagree with us, you can come express those thoughts thoroughly. But without further ado, we're going to close things off with myself, GrandMasterHoop, and shout out to DrJaceAttorney. Always a pleasure. Rose the Crafter, wisdom of the wise, and NinoDesplazado, the silent but deadly analytical thought. We're the Yonkō Table.
What?
Thanks for listening, everybody. I don't know. I was rambling. Take care, everybody.